I'm ABC 10 meteorologist Rob Carlmark with an update to the ongoing fires we're seeing in the LA basin. Now, let me just give you some perspective here of what you're looking at right behind me. This is a network of cameras that are all over California. It's called Alert California, and they were specifically set up to monitor wildfire activity. They're also very useful in other weather events, but clearly this is their main use, and they are images that are updated about every minute or so. You can actually go to this website, it's public information, and aim yourself on various cameras so you can see what's going on, and also use their time-lapse feature so you can see how it's developed overnight to see how active it's been. And let me just give you a word of warning. It's been extremely active, lots of fire in the middle of the night. And as we're updating this here on Wednesday morning, you can see that one of the major issues that will be ongoing is smoke. Now, the Palisades fire is located roughly between Santa Monica and Malibu, in the mountains in between, not in Santa Monica and not in Malibu, but in those mountains in between. And they've had some very active fire. One of the big landmark locations is the original Getty Museum is in this location. So that gives you some perspective, very close to the ocean. And then also the Eaton fire. This is near Pasadena and Altadena, burning actively in the hills, but at the bottom is a lot of residents, businesses, roadways. So we're very worried about all of these fires. One final one, the Hurst fire, is closer toward where Santa Clarita is. In other words, kind of by where Magic Mountain is, in the mountains between LA and Bakersfield. The I-5 Grapevine is a well-known location. Now, for all of the active fires ahead of this, Southern California Edison is one of the major power suppliers in that region. Also, we've got San Diego Gas and Electric, which roughly starts in this area down all the way to the border. They've been issuing public safety power shutoff warnings, letting people know in these areas, about 40,000 customers or so, hey, we might have to shut off your power depending on how the weather and the fire conditions move in the future. This was issued yesterday ahead of when the fire broke out. However, we do not know if a lot of those lines were de-energized at the time that some of these fires started. For example, the Palisades fire started right around 10:30 in the morning on Tuesday, so they might have been active in that area. Also the same with the Eaton fire. Regardless, investigators will figure out how these fires started, but currently there are thousands of people with their power shut off to prevent anything new from starting, because a well-known source of some of these fires is when a line breaks or is compromised, then there's arcing electricity, which very easily can start a fire. And then with the windy conditions and dry vegetation, that's key in all this, then it can start a brand new fire. So here's the situation. Weather-wise, this is a classic strong wind event that is offshore, and that's very important. Onshore winds have a lot of humidity, cloud cover often, maybe even fog, but that's not the situation here. You've got high pressure in the Pacific, also an area of low pressure that's called an inside slider that came in over the top, and the way that the winds rotate around the low pressure and around the high pressure and squeeze together, it also accentuates this effect, and you get a lot of offshore winds. The other part of this that a lot of people may not be aware of is that, you know, around LA on the other side, we call this the high desert. It's literally a desert location that is thousands of feet higher than the LA basin. So what you have is a lot of cold air pooled, and it starts to move over these mountain ranges. And as it moves down in elevation, it speeds up. It also dries out in a major way. And there's lots of canyons and passes here as well. And the wind also speeds up in those locations. So imagine if you say have a garden hose, which this would be just a lot of volume of air moving, and then if you put your thumb over it, that reduces the area that the volume can go through, and then it speeds up. That's the same situation. So in these canyons and passes, you can get extremely windy conditions as well as dry, and it must be said that the vegetation is absolutely bone dry. It has not rained in a significant way in Southern California since the end of March. So we have a red flag warning that's specifically for dry and windy conditions. It's not even temperature related. If you have that as well as dry vegetation, the potential for fires is extremely high. In fact, they rate these now, these red flag warnings. This is top rated red flag warning. Not only that, they're calling it a very dangerous situation, PDS, and that means that this is the highest level of warning that they give for concern about fires breaking out. Yet that's what we had yesterday. And the other thing is that we're dealing with extreme winds, regardless of the fire conditions, that could damage or break things and even turn semis on their side with these crosswinds that we're expecting out of the north. That goes all the way until 6 o'clock later on this evening. So if you want to look at the scale, we've been dealing with things in Northern California on the breezy to windy scale with some localized wind impacts from our recent wind event over the last 24 hours in the 30 to 40 mile per hour range. But when you start getting to 40 to 50 miles per hour or stronger, that's when you get some light damage to just straight up damaging winds. And that's what they've been dealing with in LA over the last 24 hours, with another round of this going through the rest of today. Now, by the time we get to Thursday, it's all over. But the problem is that the base conditions for something in the future are going to be ongoing, because going out the next 10 days or so, we do not see any rain or snow whatsoever in Southern California or Northern California. It's going to be very dry across the state. And perhaps we're going to be on the cool side going out 14 days. We're also very likely to remain dry. So the bottom line is that the next day or so in Southern California, the existing fires are likely to grow and cause more problems. But there also could be new fires that pop up. We're not really in the clear until we get to the other side of the wind, which is going to be sometime late tonight or tomorrow. But the existing smoke and getting out what is currently on fire is likely to take much more time in the days and maybe even weeks ahead.